Welcome back, y'all, to the Happy Agent podcast. I'm Courtney Benson, and today we're diving into something that I actually have no business talking about today because I woke up like the weight of the world was on my shoulders, and there may have been some tears shed this morning. And so most of you guys know I'm uh, was diagnosed with breast cancer on September 29th. I was given that diagnosis and I've been navigating it ever since. And of course, I do it in my own special way of dealing with all things that that come my way. I talk about it, I make fun of it, and sometimes I dance to it. And if I can put on a hat and make it fashionable, I will do that too. But today just felt different. It felt heavy. So I thought there's been something that I've wanted to talk to you guys about for the past couple weeks, and it's just been kind of rolling around in my head. And I thought, what a worse day to do it than today, which meant it was exactly the thing that I needed to be doing. So today we're going to be talking about it's just you and I, just you and I. And I don't know if you guys have noticed at this point. We're about almost 30 episodes into season one. I've got about one more episode left in this season, and then we're going to take a break until probably February or March and pick up season two with all new guests, all new perspectives, ideas, probably a new hairdo for me. But I don't know if you guys have noticed this, but over the last 30 or so episodes, most of the time it's almost just like a love letter to myself. I think the episodes come out of what I'm struggling with in that moment, and I really almost film them for me to help me and bring anybody else along who has the same feelings. I'm well aware because I talk to people all the time. When you see somebody, especially in our real estate industry, we award ourselves a lot. So when you see somebody who gets a lot of awards or is recognized in national magazines, sometimes it's easy to feel like that person doesn't have any struggles or issues, or maybe you guys don't share the same problems or insecurities or whatever it is. And I just want to tell you that's not true. That is not true. And that's how all of this whole thing was born in the first place, was that I reached the goals that I wanted to reach. And why was I still unhappy? Why was I still struggling? Um, why did I think it was all a fluke? And so instead of setting my life to goals that I have to achieve through hustle and grind and sacrifice, I went and found help. And you guys have met her, Ryan Gillen. She's been on the show. Kim Dean, she's been on the show. Lacey Brucci. These are some of the people that I've gone to get help for this and work through it and have become my best of friends in the process. But I found nothing changes just because you make your goal. So if you struggle and push and sacrifice to make the goal doesn't necessarily feel good. You just hit a goal and you're doing it all over again. So I decided to ditch all the hype, ditch all of the hustle culture, and really just, what do I want to do? What do I enjoy doing? Who do I want to be around? And what do I want my life to look like, and not worry so much about the goal or the dollar amount. It was, who do I want to work with? Who do I want to be around? And do they make me happy? And really spending every day just seeking that. And it's not a constant necessarily chase for happiness, but it's contentment, it's peace. And so, that's what we're talking about today. So it is, it's not your systems, it's not your marketing, it's not your strategy, y'all, it's your perspective. So I'm talking about the filter you're looking through every single day, because perspective is the filter that decides whether we live in peace or we live in stress. And once you understand this, you start realizing how much of your life and your business you can reclaim simply by choosing a different lens. So we're going to talk about it. I want to start with something real because that's what I love. You ever have one of those days where nothing is technically wrong? That would be me today, but everything feels heavy anyway. You spill your coffee. I tripped on the rug earlier today. That sent me over the edge. Someone sends you a short text, maybe it's just the thumbs up. A client asks you a question that you weren't prepared for, and suddenly it feels like the whole world is just tipping and kind of slipping away. It just feels very out of control. Um, Meanwhile, somebody else could have the exact same day with those exact same things and not bat an eye over it. So it's not the day, it's the filter. So I had a moment not too long ago where I caught myself spiraling. That happens a lot, and it's happened a lot since the cancer diagnosis. Not a lot. I'm not going to say that it's not happened a lot, but it's happened enough that that I've become aware of it. Where nothing is actually wrong. I mean, which sounds crazy because you're like, well, you have cancer. I mean, that's something that's wrong and it's kind of big. Um, but nothing, I'm aware of that. I've digested it, but nothing is wrong. But my perspective, to hear my dog snoring, she's bored. But my perspective had decided that I was in full crisis. I was looking through a stress filter, which is really my default filter. You know, looking for positive and looking for good energy, that is really a relatively new thing to me that I've worked on over the past year and a half, and I've taken everybody along on this journey with me because it just really has been life changing to me. But my perspective had decided that I was in full crisis. I was looking through a stress filter, and that filter, it doesn't look for truth, right? It looks for proof that things are chaotic, proof that things are hard, proof that people are disappointing us. I always say you never get your coat pocket stuck on a doorknob when you're having a good day. Never. It only happens to me when I'm pissed off and I'll walk by something and my jacket will get stuck on a doorknob and I like take it with me. That only happens when I'm having a bad day. So when I shifted the filter, the whole day it shifted with it. So that is the power of perspective. Perspective is not truth, it's interpretation. Perspective is the lens that our brain uses to decide what a moment means. And that decision becomes your emotional experience. Like two people can live the same moment and tell completely different stories about it. One only sees disaster, one sees opportunity, same moment, different filter. And I'm sure you've experienced this before where maybe somebody is telling you a story and they're just so dramatic about it and they see something or experience something and maybe you're with them and they're retelling this story and you're like, really wasn't that big of a deal. I don't get it. Same moment, different filter. So all of this comes from perspective, and perspective, that's what we're talking about today. And all of that comes to us from past experiences, beliefs, fears, ego, identity, expectations. So it's a story our subconscious wants to keep retelling because it feels familiar. And I really have gotten into the study of the subconscious mind. And this has been huge with my cancer diagnosis and in just when I've told people that I have cancer, people want to connect, and I don't think people have ill intentions, but usually the first thing is somebody will try to connect with me by telling me a story about either their cancer, somebody in their family, or a friend. Sometimes the story ends in tragedy, whatever it is. And, usually it's a story of hardship. We see this in real estate too. Like people almost, it's like a badge of honor to have like a difficult transaction. Like, oh my gosh, I'm buying this house and the people left their trash in the trash can when they moved out or they wanted something. And there's always these stories of hardship and drama. And so we look for it. So what people were doing was telling me these stories of hardship and drama. And because I don't have a subconscious filled with anything that I really know about cancer, that was being deposited into my brain. So what I know is that when that happens, I take other people's stories and putting them in my brain, and now I'm looking for them to be true, whether they are or not. So like I'm taking this medication that has some pretty nasty side effects. I was very nervous about taking the medication, and anything that I researched on said medication was just horrible. So, what do you know? I start taking it, and I'm like, that is that the medication? Did my cancer move? Like, just starting to panic about stuff like that. And so I had to stop the stories. So when people started telling me stories, I would have to like, "Oh, yeah, that's great. Thank you. Thank you so much." And so because I don't wanna look for those stories to be true. So I need to be able to rewrite that story based off of my own experiences, not filtered through somebody else's experience. So here is the game changer in all of this, that we get to choose our filter. We get to choose our story, and we get to choose peace even when life presents stress. And so for me today to do this podcast, like I said, I woke up very stressed, very heavy feeling, very triggered to start crying, just still there under the surface. And I wanted to do this podcast, and I was like, today would be the worst day to do it because I have the absolute worst perspective and filter I could have right now. And I actually think that's what makes it even better is that I'm struggling through it. So maybe this podcast is for me today. Um, like I said, all the podcasts are kind of for me. Every time we film them, they really do come from the heart. And I think I needed to hear this today, so maybe somebody else needs to hear it too. Most of our stress does not come from what's actually happening. It comes from the story we're attaching to it. I know in my life right now has changed. It was the same. Say I have the same situation where I'm waiting for the insurance company to finalize my chemo every week. They keep telling me I'm going to start next week and we're good. And then something happens and I get delayed. Now I have to go back today for more blood tests because um, I have an iron issue that's not going to be good as I go through chemo. There's just like all of these things. I've been in this perpetual waiting game to just start already, and that is certainly triggering things in me, like things that I already processed prior, losing my hair, whatever struggles that I may go through, I'd kind of already processed that, and because of this delay, literally I'm on like I think it's like a 3 almost a 4-week delay of starting chemo. Um, I'm processing them all again. And so that's hard. Waiting becomes anxiety because our perspective assumes bad news. And that's really what this has brought about. I mean, even in the real estate world, we know that with our clients, if we don't have an answer right away, or we see agents who are bad communicators and we've got the client on the other side, we don't assume the best. We don't assume that they're not communicating because things are golden. A lot of times we assume they're not communicating because they're doing something wrong. And so then we take moves to protect our clients because of that. So the anxiety comes from the perspective, assuming bad news. A client's silence again becomes fear because your perspective assumes disappointment. A slow month becomes panic because our perspective assumes failure. Our nervous system reacts to our perspective. It doesn't react to the situation. When we look through life with the stress filter, we start scanning for more stress, right? We read into things. We take things personally. We create urgency where there is none. And stress expands wherever our perspective points. If we're looking for something bad, if we're looking for a delay, if we're looking for something to fall apart, we go right to it and we look for that to be true. And if we don't find it to be true, sometimes we actually create it to prove ourselves right. So when you're in the stress filter of life, what does that feel like? Everything feels urgent. Every decision is high stakes. People feel unpredictable. You assume the worst. You live in protection mode. There's a saying, and I'm probably going to stumble over it, but whatevs. Will this matter in 5 minutes, 5 hours, 5 days, 5 months, or 5 years? And if it doesn't matter in 5 months to 5 years, then it's probably not that big of a deal. So kind of breaking it down like that. Like, does it really matter, or are we giving it more energy and power than it really should have? So that's what life looks like when we're in the stress filter mode. And if you think about it and all of the things that I just shared, are you feeling that way? Do you feel like every decision is high stakes? Do you feel like every decision is urgent, that you're assuming the worst and you're in that protection mode? I do feel like living for decades in that fight or flight, dysregulated nervous system, I do feel like that contributed to my cancer diagnosis. I don't know. I just feel like that is in me. I feel like that um, is part of it, that I just have like, upset internals all the time. So, what does it look like when we live with a peaceful filter? When we're living in peace or happiness or high energy, high vibration, you feel like you can breathe a little bit. I mean, that was me this morning. Gabe wasn't feeling well, so he was up in the guest room, and I was sitting at the kitchen table and I was eating and I was looking at my phone and he was texting me and he said, "Are you okay?" And I said, "No, I can't breathe. Like, I just feel like I have so much anxiety." And I was just like, shallow breath, you know? But when we feel peace and we feel at ease, our breath is easy. Things feel workable instead of impossible. People get grace. You trust yourself and you trust the process. So peace it's not something that we wait for, it's something that we choose. And I will say that again. Peace is not something we wait for. It is something that we choose because peace is a filter. Just like chaos, just like stress, peace is also a filter. So we can choose to look at things through a peaceful filter. And the filter sits between you and our world. And the more you use it, the easier it is to access and reach for it. And this past year and a half, that has been what I've focused on is reaching for the filter of ease and peace instead of stress and anxiety and resentment. So, if we're looking at this from just a real estate aspect. So let's put it into our world for a second, right? A listing doesn't get any showing. So a stress filter will say I'm failing. And I've heard this from a lot of agents lately, some really good agents like, is it me? Do I not know how to price houses? Do I not know how to sell houses? And so that's the stress filter that's saying I'm failing, I'm not good. A peace filter would say, okay, I'm not getting any showings, so now I have new data that I can create a new strategy for. When a client gets anxious, we could have a stress filter that says they're mad at me. Have you ever had that like where you get a text and you're like, "Oh, they're mad at me. What did I do wrong?" But a peace filter says they're just overwhelmed and we're the ones that can guide them through it. And oftentimes I've said to clients, when they get upset, I'll say, I understand and I hear you and I know you're upset. This is when I need you to trust me to help you get through it. And we're going to do it together. And I promise we're going to make it through. So that's your peace filter where you're guiding. And you can even say it directly to them. Um, let's say a month gets slow. A lot of times people are slow in December. We've always, for some reason, Gabe and I've always been fairly busy in December, but um, right now in this season in this market, we have slowed down a little bit. That stresses me out. Something's wrong with me. Why is this happening? Why is it slow? Is it because I have cancer? Is it because, the market? Is it, something that I've done, something that I can't control, and then I look for the control. But your stress filter will say it's something that is wrong with you, something that is wrong with me. But if I'm looking at it through a peaceful factor, a peaceful filter, which again is hard. That one's hard for me with business. Then I would say, this is a time for systems and for grounding, and it's a season. I've made it through this season before. Stay focused on the systems, the marketing, and things will change. And just having peace with knowing that there's a flow of the systems. Um, Transactions when they hit a bump and our stress filter says it's falling apart. Everything's wrong. Everyone's going to hate me. I'm not going to make any money. I have to support my family. I've spent so much time doing this for nothing. And you start the spiral. And when we start the spiral, and I always say the person who's in charge of the crazy ship cannot be crazy. So when the head of the crazy ship starts going awry, it makes it hard for everybody. So now that filter actually oozes onto our clients. But if we're looking at it through a peace filter, we would say, this is why they hired me is I know how to navigate this. And this is why they hired me. Same moment, different emotional reality and different outcomes. So we get to choose that, right? We get to choose either the peace filter or that stress filter. So what filter are you choosing? And I know you're probably thinking, oh, Courtney, that really sounds super easy, but why is it so damn hard? And I will tell you why, especially for me, because my ego, she's a real son of a bitch, and she likes to be right. Our brains are wired to scan for danger. That is what they do. So, old patterns, they want to stay familiar. This is why dieting can be difficult. Adding exercise, adding new marketing things like that can be difficult because our old patterns feel familiar. And our nervous systems get addicted to stress because it feels like control. If we're in stress, we're in control because we're always looking for that, and it feels familiar to us. I recognize this in myself quite a bit. I've taken a lot of things off my calendar for the rest of the year. So, speaking engagements, parties, lunches, coffees, things like that, because I need to focus on my clients, my family, and my health. And no, not necessarily in that order, but I will tell you that's probably the order. That was probably not a Freudian slip. Honestly, that's probably. That is exactly really what I tend to focus on. And yeah, it is. Wow. Hmm. That's a good that's a good self-realization moment, isn't it? Told you I just do these for myself. It's like my own therapy every week. Um but it's true. So a lot of us are taught to operate from stress. Stress feels like we're doing something. It feels like we're productive. Stress means that we care. Stress means that we're responsible. It means we're high performers. And I am looking, which I know when I say it out loud sounds really stupid, that I'm looking at a schedule of Christmas and family, all the things that come with Christmas anyways, and then adding chemo on top of it, running a business, ending a year, starting a new year. And I took away a lot of those things that were adding stress to all of those situations. Like we canceled our yearly Christmas party that we have at our house. Um, just just started to cancel things because I felt like that was the right thing to do. But I will tell you, sitting in the quietness of a fairly lean calendar is not something that I'm used to. And so I also think this is contributing to my brain today that is looking for stress and moments of tears and things like that. But it is, we're taught to operate from stress, and stress does it. I think, when we're stressed, it means because we care. We care. I wouldn't be stressed. If I didn't care, I wouldn't be stressed. It means we're responsible because again, we care, and that we are those high performers, high achievers. And so it feels stressful. But what I'm trying to learn is that peace doesn't mean that I'm being passive. Peace is actually clarity. And when we sit in peace, like I know when I sit in peace, I get a lot of clarity. Peace allows you to lead, and it allows you to lead calmly. Peace allows it allows me to think. Sometimes I don't always like the thoughts that come when I'm sitting in the quiet. I'm like, "Oh, where did that come from?" And so that again, like if we stay busy, then we don't have those uncomfortable moments where I'm like, maybe I should be doing this differently, or maybe I should think of this differently. Um, and sometimes the quietness and the calm in that peace can feel very triggering for other things. But um, I do know peace lets you respond instead of react, which is huge because we are in a world where people react so quickly. And when we have peace, it allows us to pause. Peace gives us the pause, and the pause is really good. And that filter is actually what makes us powerful. When we come at things from a filter of stress and chaos, we are actually the opposite of what we think we're conveying. We're not conveying power, we're conveying chaos. But when you encounter somebody who's peaceful and thoughtful and they're calm and they think before they speak, there's a real power in that. I have 3 ideas that are for us to start reflecting on to help bring up that filter of peace as opposed to the filter of stress. Okay, so the first one is we're going to ask ask a better question. So instead of saying, why is this happening to me? We're going to ask, what is this showing me? Our second shift is we're going to borrow somebody else's lens. Is there somebody you know that's very grounded? Maybe ask how they see it. And, here's the situation. How do you see it? But this has to be a person that's very honest with you, and can really speak to you in that manner, not just, yeah, yeah, no, that's right. You're right. You're right. Not a people pleaser. Um, our shift number 3 was we're going to step into a higher identity. So ask, what would the most confident version of me think about this moment? What filter would that person use? And what story would that person attach to it? Okay, so for a moment, let's do this together. Think of something stressing you right now, something small, something real. And then we're going to say it out loud. And we're going to say, this is just a story my filter is creating. And we're going to take a breath. So for me, it's been perpetual since I shared with the world about my cancer diagnosis, is that somehow this is going to ruin the business that my husband and I have worked so hard for so many decades now to build. And the reality is that's not true. Our clients that come to us, our business doesn't prove that to be true, but it's been in my head. And so I look for it and I get so upset with myself about that. So I'm going to take a breath and I'm going to say, that's just a story that I'm telling myself. Those things are actually not happening. I'm just telling myself that. And I'm looking for ways for it to be true. And when I look for ways for it to be true, I also act in ways to make that true. And I need to acknowledge that. So now imagine looking through that same story in a peaceful filter, a filter of calm, possibility, and a filter of trust. So for me, I I know that over the last 13 years, I started this business. My husband came in and started working with me, and together we have built an amazing business with amazing clients and support around us. And everyone has stepped up to help us if we need it. But that was even true before the cancer diagnosis. And our clients are always supported first and foremost, and they trust us and they continue to support us even through all of our ups and downs, just like we support them. So I know that to be true. I'm going to show up knowing that that's true and that everything is okay. So that perspective is going to help reset my nervous system and help that shift. And I can do this at any time. You can do this at any time. When you can feel that spiral and the doom and the gloom come, how are you going to take that filter of stress, change it over to a peaceful filter, and retell your story? So here's the heart of today. We can't always choose our circumstances, but we can always choose the filter in which we look at the circumstances. So, perspective is the difference between chaos and clarity, between pressure and presence, between panic and peace. And once we understand that, we stop living at the mercy of everything around us. We stop handing our emotional state to random situations and we take a power back. Because when we live in a state of chaos, we're giving up our power. Peace is not something that we find. Peace is a filter to be chosen. I'm going to say it again. Peace isn't something that we find, it's a filter to be chosen. So, thank you guys for being here. If this episode helped you in any way, please share it. If you know someone who needs to hear this today, I hope that you share it with them. I will see you on the next podcast. I'm not sure when we're going to film it, but there's going to be one more podcast in this series, and then we're going to pick up. The next season 2 of the Happy Agent podcast will be coming probably the end of February, the 1st of March. And again, I'm excited for you guys to meet all new guests. We're going to talk about all different things. And I don't know, maybe you'll see me in between the end of this season and the start of next season. And of course, I hope you follow me on social media. I'm on Instagram and TikTok at CourtneyBenson.com, DOTCOM. It's all spelled out. I also started a new TikTok and Instagram called Just a Girl with Cancer, where I'm sharing my journey of my cancer diagnosis and taking everybody through it with me. in the way that I do. Sometimes I cry, sometimes I laugh, but I always show up. So thank you guys for being here, and love to you all, and I'll see you next time. Welcome to the Happy Agent Podcast, the place where real estate agents get real. I'm Courtney Benson, a Wall Street Journal ranked top 1% agent based in Dallas, Texas. After over a decade in this business, I realized something. This industry is full of gaslighting nonsense. The hustle culture, the polished perfection, the pressure to pretend. Yeah, we're done with that. This podcast is where we start doing things differently. We're bringing back the fun, the alignment, the real connection. With a grounded mindset, a lot of laughs, and total authenticity, we're showing up as ourselves to attract the clients, the opportunities, and the life we actually want. No, it's not always perfect, but we're here, we're building something better, and we're doing it together. You may have seen me on Inman News or catch me live on the NAR stage this September. But right now, let's get into today's episode.